Hey, good morning. This is going to be a Uno that controls an LCD and a DHT11. There's two models of this DHT11 with and without this carrier board. The carrier board actually has a couple extra components that makes it slightly easier to use. If you don't have the carrier board, you have to put a resistor in line, and it looks like they also have a capacitor in line. Pretty common thing, costs less than $1. I got these Unos from China and they cost $2.50. One of the reasons I like these is they have extra pins here for ground and +5. They also have a interface to a I2C port. They also have holes so you can solder in headers beside the headers, so you can do double rows to get more interfaces. Now, for majority of these I don't really care, but for this particular row here you get extra grounds, extra +5s, extra +3.3s. So well worth soldering these in, and I have another video on that if you want to go see it. I have a couple of these 1602s and they come with serial to parallel converters. Very handy to have. It actually has a jumper to enable backlight or not. If you enable backlight, you can still turn it off with your program. But these are the basic components. I want to read the temperature gauge and I want to display it on the LCD screen. So let's start wiring these. I already laid out cables. To me, colors don't mean anything. I could take the time to do red and black. I'm just on 3 pins. I'm going to take yellow is going to be plus, and this is a 5-volt sensor, so I'll go 5 volts. Blue is going to be ground. I'll put that to ground. Green is the center, and that is actually the interface pin. So I happen to know that I want it in A0. So that's how you hook up the temperature sensor. Now I've got some sample code that'll read the sensor and display it on the screen. This is part of a much bigger system that I'm working on. I'm going to have this system on our sun porch. It's going to read the temperature. This Uno is going to display it for now. The next step would be to use a 433 megahertz transceiver to send it to a Uno in the house, so that in one display I can have an outside temperature, an inside temperature, and the temperature in our garage, which gets fairly hot. So there's going to be several of these. This is also going to have a barometric pressure sensor. I'll also be interfacing a BMP 180, a BMP 280, just to experiment. I decided to go with the Uno instead of the Nano, so I have all these different headers. If I finish this and I figure out that it can go to the Uno, I'll probably transfer it to that. But during the development, to me, it's just easier to use the Uno. And if I find out that I need more, especially for the central unit, I can always go to a Mega 2560. Okay, so I've hooked up the sensor. I need to hook up the LCD. And like I said, colors don't mean anything to me. I'm just going to hook them up. There we go. So I want yellow and green. Yellow is going to be +5, so I'll go to +5. Green is going to be ground, so I'll put it in ground. And blue and white are going to be the interface. Now I can use the dedicated SCL SDA pins, or I can use A4 and A5, and I'm going to use A4 and A5. So there's the wiring. Let's go ahead and hook it up. Now it says K-Tech, and it says it's 5 volts 2 amps, but I have learned to test that. So let's get our multimeter set up. Probably as close to 5 volts as I'm going to get. So let's see if the power's on. Contrast was turned down. So here's what I've displayed. Humidity is 60% in this room. Temperature is 88. That's kind of high, but my other thermometer says 86. Pretty hot today. Okay, so I give Fahrenheit and Celsius. The sensor itself reads in Celsius. It's easy enough to convert to Fahrenheit. And these are what I call update bits. I'm always concerned if that thing is updating or not. Maybe it's froze. So every time it does a read, it updates both of those. This is just a temperature sensor and a display. I have bigger plans for this system. This system will be a temperature monitor, but instead of displaying it on the LCD, I'll put in a 433 megahertz RF link and send the data over to another UNO that's going to collect a lot of different data points. I came up with the idea for the update bit when I was troubleshooting the RF link. And now this, if one updates, both update. Obviously it's reading the same sensor, but on the RF link it doesn't. This thing will transmit one and then transmit the other. So the next step will be to add the RF link. So I've got to make two of these that have a temperature sensor and a display, and I'll develop all of these systems with a display, and then I'll remove the display from the remote ones. It's just easier for me to get this working with an LCD. There you go, very simple project. Temperature sensor, DHT11, 1602 LCD. If you like the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.